gotta say okay to this shit. All right.
Consent.
And this recording.
The contract. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
you were
right, right.
saying.
There's a pill. No, I was
Hmm.
I was saying before we jumped on was talking about how right now with the solar eclipse, how people thought, the world was ending and all these things were happening, and how we were talking about information being passed around and what to believe. And as I was doing some studies in a particular field in IT, was talking about how certain governments will sometimes push uh, contradicting narratives to cause people to not believe in anything, so they won't believe what's real or it will pretty much confuse people to see what's real or not, And so that's why sometimes with the information that we have to do some very, very deep digging to figure out what is real or not, Like even if you Google certain things, like Google certain things about health, you're gonna hear what the doctors want to say, and then very at the very bottom somewhere you might find an alternate source saying eat more raspberries or some shit.
Hmm.
So yeah, the information, like even Google searching is kind of like this art and skill to get the proper information now. Well, not proper, but I guess either
Accurate.
alternate information. Well, because accurate it's. I mean, I guess I sound confusing right now, but it's difficult sometimes because like especially on certain situations, right? Accurate for what you need, you might have to do further research. You know, especially when it comes to like health and food and stuff like that. You know, like although we're talking about information and whatnot, like right now I'm going through a journey for the listeners that I'm trying to go more plant based, diet because I'm gonna put my health out there. So I've been diagnosed with like having congestive heart failure, and although my cholesterol is pretty good, there's other things that affect me having heart issues with the cholesterol. There's this thing called lipoprotein A. If you want to research on it, I do it yourself. It's hard for me to explain it right now because I'm not a doctor or a scientist to it. But as you're going down, as I'm going down the path of trying to learn about plant-based diets, it's like there's people I know that used to be vegetarian or vegan and now switching saying no, you like don't do all just plants because you need protein. I've seen people go from a certain field of diet to like high protein diet because the one set of study is saying that your body's full of proteins and that your body feeds off these proteins. And when like when you do find like health things, what they do is that when they do genetic tests, it's like it's a protein in your DNA that they find that causes it. So your body's full of protein. But then there's also studies of how when we're going now let me clarify too as I say this. Protein doesn't always necessarily mean meat. And that's the thing I gotta make sure I say too. But I believe what happens is that when people go plant-based, they try to go with things that are more leafy green, but no protein in it, right? So there's these like further details you got to learn about how to eat properly and what your body needs. Because as I'm going down the process, I'm seeing, well, like I started going plant-based and I've ate a couple of things that weren't, but within the 2.5 weeks, my cholesterol dropped 40 points within that time frame. Now, what I'm saying is that it does work, right? Or so far it's worked. I'll put it that way. So far going that route has worked. But I wonder how long is it sustainable for your overall health as far as muscles and other growth to it. So and that's the part as I'm doing studying, it's like, man, it's like all over the place to say what is plant-based. Some say it's just eating primarily vegetables, and you may sometimes have something like eggs or cheese, right? But then I've also seen people say that plant-based is that you mainly eat plant food, and then your when you're eating your meal, it'd be like 90% plant, 1% like meat, or not 1%, but 10% like meat or whatnot. So it's pretty confusing trying to figure out. I mean, everything's different for each person, but what's what, what's the definition? It's kind of like what's the difference between rap and hip hop,
Point. Good point.
or like we were talking about last week when we didn't record, how there's different levels of rock.
Hmm.
You know, probably sound like I'm all over the place talking right now, but yeah,
No, I think that's all related. I think we were talking about, like information and then how people receive it and how that materializes in our minds and then how we ultimately behave. I think, like what I mentioned off air, is the internet. Like, like remember when we talked about it before, going to the library, switching teams. All right, this is Oregon Trail. Half of you guys got to go read books. You get
yeah,
to switch off. But, we have to do the bibliography. Bibliography meaning, all right, we need to go to find the book. Usually you go to this little index area where you're looking for author or a subject content, and then it'll give you like the gist of it, right?
yeah,
And when you write when you write papers or you use these references or these phrases, you have to reference what you read. So from that standpoint, it's not the most like definitive way. It's just an old school way of how people gathered information. The way now, it's like we're very unaware of any type of author, and we're also combating the idea of a possible artificial intelligent program being somewhere mixed in between that. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then you add on top of that the visual aspect. See, where before our minds would really more or less take the reins of books. Rarely they had pictures, and then Where's Waldo came out, and then it was all over after that. But you know what I'm
right,
saying? That
right,
was like the number one book for silent reading. I was like, I'm getting
yeah.
down right there.
Silent read, you're like this, and all you heard was a, you know what I'm saying, like a, like you're supposed to, no noise.
Oh man, that's what I'm saying. Like the internet is just now full with a lot of different information, and it's
Yeah,
hard to discern like what is what. Even if it's like stuff I look at, like I'm an 80/20 guy, like I always say, like I'm into something. I'm like, yeah, fuck, dude, this is, and then I have to like take a step back and be like, man, this shit probably AI generated. I don't know who the fuck I'm listening to. I don't even know if this fool is even a real person because I
yeah.
have to scrutinize it that way, and it's like and I don't know if a lot of people do that. I'm not saying you have to. It's just something I've discovered myself never wanting to fully commit, only because there's so many times I've committed to a theory or an ideology to some degree where I lost myself. I was like, oh, that was fucking stupid. Like, why did I think like that?
Mm.
And then to scale
Is that why
back.
you feel like you won't overcommit on stuff? It's like you felt like you lost yourself at
With
a time.
certain like things, especially like anything that I know that my personality is very addictive. I found that out with video
Mm.
games. When
Okay,
you're in the
yeah,
video game phase and you just disappear from the world for a hot second. Like, and I know it has that effect, but in the way that I'm addicted, it's like the simulation type of thing, and I could really get lost in that world. So when it comes to like theories, and that's why it's right up my alley because I love to research. I just love being into anything. I don't give a fuck
yeah.
how deep it is. I'll be in the Legos and shit. Like I'll be like, oh, I'll be looking at models and shit all the time. Like, so to find the information, I'll go deep down. But I realized like there are things that I researched that are very unpopular or never really asked about, and it always spins it in a way that at least in my little world, I take it and then it adds to my lens of how I perceive things. Because more often than not, it seems like as we move forward in the age of information, it's like, man, the rhetoric is kind of there. I don't know what to believe, and
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's very unnerving. But then, like I always go back to my idea of like, all right, this is some growth period that we're going through. And we have to go through this because on the other side, it's going to be when you're a senior in high school. You know what I'm saying? Or whenever that glory
Yeah.
time, eighth grade, you're in eighth grade now. Like I'm not a sixth grader, I'm not a seventh grader no more. Like we're going through seventh grade right now, first week. Like we're like,
Yeah, I feel like I mean, I had a friend say this like years ago. He said, "I feel like America's or the world's going to an intellectual awakening, right? And it's getting to a point where like everything that we've thought we've known doesn't seem to be true. or at least half truths, and obviously that's, you know, designed by people that wanted to not give full information for either for protection, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, like yeah, I believe that we're getting to the point where it's just like, there's a lot of questions that people are bringing up, and it doesn't make sense because they're looking for answers. It's actually funny. I was having a conversation kind of somewhere with a friend about religion, and he just like just asking stuff. It's like this doesn't make sense, and I'm like, well, you know, um, I feel like as humans we have this desire to want to know things. And for a lot, if you don't know, then it drives you crazy. Most people are not okay not knowing, you know. And I said maybe we're not supposed to know. And then he said BS is like he said it very extreme, which is this is why we're friends, because I'll probably say something extreme that has no bearing to it. But he said something extreme like, well, if I stole your wallet and you're looking for your wallet, and I answered you and said, well, some things you don't need to know, you'd be upset. I'm like, that's a completely different thing, but
Yeah.
I get what he's trying to say, right? It's like he thinks that's a bad answer. And the reality is like I just don't think there's things that we're gonna actually know.
Yeah.
And definitely when it comes to, unfortunately for religion, is like, well, depending on how you look at it, you hope that it's real, you know, but you'll never know, because we don't really know if when you pass away what happens.
Yeah.
You know, the only like the spirit is such a crazy concept, because it like there is something that is powering us, both our mental and our physical, right? So our heart's pumping blood through us, right? We need blood to give power to the brain, you know. And that for many cases, for me, I'm like, isn't the brain is the brain where your mind's at or your spirit's at? Because
Ooh.
as the brain goes, that disappears, right? At least from what we know. Now, say they cut your brain out, took it out, and repumped it with something, would that come back alive? But your memory is be intact.
Mm.
Actually, now I wonder. I mean, some weird stuff. I wonder if they can figure out a way when they cut someone's head open and brain, could they like reverse engineer and undigitize someone's mind? Like, okay, these wrinkles, kind of like Braille or what's the other one I can't think of? Those
Morse.
Morse, yeah, like or just digital, like, oh, these little things, oh, these are chunks of memories, and we can break it down. Sorry, to people that are listening, I'm going crazy right now.
Nah, dude, I'm right there with you, bro. Like, I'd be asking the same question. I agree with you. I think you at some point you have to chalk it up to we don't know. And
Yeah,
I think what happens sometimes with like religion, it's the 80-20 thing. Sometimes when you go 90%, 100% into that, it's like you can't take a step back and see the rest of the world because you get in an echo chamber, not in a bad way. I think religion is great on all levels.
yeah,
Then you have your extreme people, just like anything else. Um, but to not entertain the idea of some mystery, essentially, or some mythological or magic is beyond, thing because we become conditioned to want to know. I think that's why the internet, like, to your point, is like, yo, like, there's like a certain desire to want to know. We never want to be not in the know. So the
yeah.
internet, in a strange way, provides an infinite world of ideas and theories and perspectives that are not only human generated, but generated through human algorithm and then AI generated. And possibly we've been
I think they're
in
both,
this
yeah, right.
position for like the last 5 years, to be honest. Like if we're just hearing about AI tech now and AI photography and art, then I'm thinking, oh, then it could have been active as early as like 5 years ago.
I mean, there's been forms of, I don't want to say AI per se, but there's been forms of something like that, meaning
Automation.
like automation, right? Like, okay, you look at one thing, right? You look at stocks, and all of a sudden you get stamp stocks on your feed. All of a sudden send you all types of different things on your feed, right? Or you search something, like you search something on YouTube, and all of a sudden all the same type of things and references are there. Because what's going on, even though it's not necessarily AI, what it's doing is taking in information of what you do, right? And break it off of similar searches of other people that did the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's building a database. I'm like, oh, well, suggest this, right?
Yes. So it's almost bringing us together as much as it sounds like it's separating us. Maybe it's bringing us together. And I think it's the idea of how many people
What
conceptualize a world where we're like one mind versus individual minds.
Well, okay, yes and no. At first I thought you meant like researching things like it was bringing us together. But I would say yes if you're searching for a community. Um, Now at the same time, sometimes it is bringing us together in a it could be good or bad, but like I would say like in a sheeple way, like you're not on social media that much, right? So it is bringing us together. Why everybody has to act this way? I'm not everybody. This is my algorithm saying that you're supposed to look this way, act this way, be a certain way, um, and that is driving an image like instead of being open to different ideas or different styles, a lot of people are kind of coming in with a particular image.
Mhm. It's like it's homogenizing again, even
Yeah.
though the internet is infinite. Like the first 10 pages of Google are essentially the same three websites. Even
Yeah.
though it's like it's infinite results, no one goes past page two. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But and it's kind of funny as we say that because I'm thinking like the internet is bringing the world together, and then
Mm,
but when I've been around the world, there are certain websites blocked throughout certain countries, right? Because the countries don't want certain things to be on there, right? Now, when I look at that country, I'm like, there's parts of me like, all right, I get it, that's understandable. But then when I look at the country, I'm like, well, some of that country is also brainwashed in a particular way of what information they're being put. Like, I think that in America, there's certain things being brainwashed on us from social media and certain aspects of living. I mean, shoot, for some, it could be aspects of political parties. Like you're in California, you're supposed to act this way. You're in Texas, you're supposed to act this way, and like bringing certain things together, or like we saw during a certain particular time that like probably 2014, 15, you saw the Me Too movement started to pick up, right? And the Me Too movement was going and like you started to see certain roles being changed or whatnot. Which there's parts of me that's like, that's fine, I don't care, as long as it doesn't take away from the story, but as long as it also doesn't demonize the opposite sex or whatever, aka for the most part, in my opinion, men, right? Like, okay, you can be powerful, you don't have to crap on men. But as that's been going on, now we're seeing more of a rebellion of that idea, and now the growth of what people consider the red pill. You know what I'm saying? And now we're seeing
mm.
more people, or maybe the algorithm I'm seeing is more people speaking out on that.
Interesting.
Now
Okay.
on like certain ideologies of stuff.
Like a
Like
pushback almost.
like a pushback, like I mean, to a point where we're seeing, for the most part, comedians used to seem to be more open minded on people's whatever, right? They don't care. They'll make fun of it, but they don't care, right? But now
Mm.
you're seeing more of them even complaining about the woke movement, right? Now a lot of it is because that particular movement have somewhat attacked, or I don't want to say attack because it makes sense. It seems as though the comedians are now not a safe place to speak and joke about anything anywhere, because the moment you do, when it's a certain group, then they're going to be upset about it. And now you're seeing more comedians get on the woke movement, or getting not getting on it, but like talking about it. And some of that is from the pendulum being swung through the years of certain things, like you know like there's just certain political things that were going and people were supporting it until I believe it got to a point where to some it's at hand. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So
Yeah. It's a very heavy swing, it
heavy.
feels.
Yeah, because I think we swing through a lot of pendulums throughout the time, and there's going to be a moment where it comes to the middle, and then we're going to have something that jolts us to another side,
Hmm.
moves us to another side.
The
So,
energy when it's amped up during a election season is very fascinating, and I don't know if that's a narrative that I'm just brainwashed to say. Um,
I don't think so. I mean,
but
like,
it's an interesting coincidence. It's
well,
in terms of who takes
it's brought
political.
up. It's brought up during this time more because these are times to express, hey, these are either way, right? These are what this president has done the last 3.5 years up to this point. Or these are the things that this other person represents up to this point. This is why you shouldn't vote for this person. Pretty much a lot of it is this is why you shouldn't vote for people. And it's amping up both sides, you know. And as we get closer, we'll hear more of it, a little
High
bit
school
after,
presidentials.
yeah, a little bit after the Olympics.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Olympics is summer and then right into the like. Oh man.
Yeah. Olympics in like probably
Oh jeez.
June, July, and ends about mid-August or so, right?
Oh my, that's gonna be so intense out there.
So,
Oh jeez, with everything going on out in France too.
oh, I didn't even
Jeez.
know it was in France this year. Okay.
Yeah, Paris Olympics, France. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Paris? I guess. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one I wanted to go to, I really paid attention to was like Brazil. Because I was like, let me go to Brazil.
Hey. But that was the one where like the players like stayed on a yacht, right?
See, that one I don't remember which one it was. I'm not too sure if that was the yacht one or
Mm-hmm.
was which one was 2000. No, there was one 2008, 2012.
Two
Because
thousands,
there was one where or maybe that was
2020.
2004. I think that was 2004 where the people were staying in yachts. Because that was when, let's see, let's look this up. Okay.
No, because it was DeMarcus in them already. KD, DeMarcus, I think LeBron, there was all that. They were all on that team. That was like the 2015 or 16, like that whole squad. They're basically the Warriors. The Warriors add like Russell Westbrook, Harden, something like that.
Let's see. Not selling.
I'll say 2016 maybe. When was the last Olympics? When was Rio?
I thought it was 2016.
Rio was 2016.
Yeah.
There you go. That's when they were staying on the boat. I'm
The
pretty
U.S.
sure.
men's and women's basketball team are spending their time at the Rio Olympics, not in the athletic village, but on luxury cruise ships. Yeah,
Mhm.
what was going on at that time to cause that?
Um,
Because which one was it also? Was it
I don't know.
2012 or 2016 where the swimmer, I think it was Brazil, where he acted as though he got mugged and he didn't.
Oh, that might have been. Yeah, I think that might have been Rio as well. Yeah, I think that was the whole idea that it was unsafe conditions or something like that.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Mm,
Hmm. And that's
maybe takes
right.
place.
I forgot that was the one where Kyrie was in there, and I think I wanted to say the Cavs just beat the Warriors, and he was kind of talking
Yes.
at the KD and all.
Yep. Yeah. That was that year. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Olympics is gonna be in France or Paris this year. B-boying is gonna be there for the first time. That'll be interesting.
Who?
B-boying, like breakdancing.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's always a weird one to figure out how to like. I always feel like when it comes to certain styles, that's a hard thing to judge. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what this means for the art. One, I don't know if it sustains.
Mm,
Second, it almost like will. I don't know what that does to a sport,
mm.
once it becomes an Olympic sport, because I've never really done any sport that's truly an Olympic sport besides like kind of basketball. But basketball seems to me that just
Taekwondo.
gained popularity like in the last like 20 years or something.
Taekwondo. I feel like basketball's falling
Taekwondo's
down.
Olympic?
Yeah, Taekwondo is Olympic game sport.
I thought it was judo.
Taekwondo. Kwan Do Olympic.
Oh, I didn't know there was an Olympic team for that.
The world's top Taekwondo athletes will gather at Paris 2024, July
Really?
26th through August 11th.
Damn.
It's actually kind of funny.
The Olympics is a
But
strange idea in general. Seems very politically
it's kind of
charged.
but it's like boxing, you know, because you have to get like. Although for the most part, I don't think I like Taekwondo's point systems. You know,
Yeah.
probably should be more land hits like boxing, but even boxing is kind of like, all right, what's considered a clean hit, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Um, you know, I probably shouldn't say this on there, but yeah, that's kind of funny because 20 years ago, I was joining the Navy. And just think about it, if I had stayed, I'd be retiring right now.
Oh, and the Navy. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like looking at him like, oh man, I see 2024. I keep forgetting. I would have
Mm.
been 20 years in.
Wow. That zips by quick.
Dude, and it's weird because as I say that, one of the memories I have before leaving was having you come over and showing your cooking skills.
Oh, not, oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Making jambalaya and you're all
Jambalaya.
telling
Yeah.
me like do not get I one of the things I always remember you said to me was do not get boneless chicken. They charge you more, you can just cut it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
He was like they'll charge you a dollar more
Yeah.
or whatever, some stuff, but you can just cut it yourself. I'll show you how to,
Exactly.
and I remember you saying that. Yeah, you're like
Dang, that's a long time ago.
a long time ago to the listeners, random thought, man.
Man, world changes fast. As we're talking about the things we're talking about, and like just even referencing the things we were just referencing, like we get all that shuffled. Like I still reference the 2000s in my era. I don't understand how to distinguish 2000 to 2010, 2010 to 2020. I don't even know how that even, that's so jumbled in my mind. I'm like, what
You
the
know,
fuck was going on?
for me, the jumbled years were from 2008 to 2012.
Oh, for
Right?
sure.
Because like 2004 to 2008 was a transition that was a good year, but that was like for me, I based it off of hip hop and certain things, right?
Oh, okay.
It,
Interesting.
Kanye
Nice.
was coming up, right? Kanye was coming up, and I remember him, the game blowing up was dope, right? Common had dropped another album, be somewhat backpacking, soulful hip hop was making a rise back, with
Yeah.
Kanye going in that route. Yeah, Reggie Bush being an amazing football player
Oh,
with
yeah. That's
with
right.
with Vince Young balling, right?
Oh, this was the end of PS3?
PS2, PS3 didn't end until 2012-ish, right? So
Yeah.
PS shoot. Let me just make sure I'm getting it right. PS3 was beginning during this time.
Yeah.
2006 the PS3 came out and Xbox 360. That's when
Okay, so PS4 came out around this time.
PS3 came out around this time.
Oh, okay, 2008.
Because 2002 and then going into 2005, I remember 2005 the Xbox 360 dropped.
Ooh, oh yes.
I was gonna wait for I was gonna wait for the PS3, right? And I knew it was costing more. And at the time they were talking about having that Batman type of controller, look like a bat signal controller, right?
Look huge.
And I'm holding on to it because I was like, nah, I'm gonna go with PlayStation because they seem to do the things right. When the 360 came out, I come back from deployment for a short time. I played NBA 2K. I'm just like, yeah, this graphics is so good. This is fun. It's loading. And then, one of my friends was talking, you need to get a 360. So I come back from my deployment and I buy a 360, right? It was kind of hard. They were still kind of hard to get, almost a year later. So went to go get this like bundle that had Saints Row. It was a Saint Row bundle, and on 360 you can put a faceplate on it. You can remove the front of the 360 and put a
Yeah.
face on it.
The
And
Saints
the whole
Row.
bundle you had to get Saints Row, where it's a game I didn't care about. It was Saints Row, a faceplate, and an additional controller.
That's
So
racist. They gave you Saints Row, bro. They were like, "What was your name, sir? Marcus
was like,
Washington?
yeah, Mark
We got Saints
Washington.
Row for you."
Yeah, Saints Row, brother, right? And so I'm like, okay,
According to your algorithm and playlist,
right,
we
yeah.
suggest Saints Row.
There was no algorithm. They created the algorithm like, So I get that game. I'm playing. I don't really care for it, and I'm waiting for this game to drop. Everybody's talking about it to be the next hot game. I'm like, okay, I don't know. Because last time they said a game like this was a third person shooter game, right? Was it was on the Xbox, and I wanted to say it was brute force, right?
Oh yeah,
Look,
that's
this
right.
game looked like brute force. What's this game called? It was called Gears of War. I was
Woo!
like, I was like, all right.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
I was like, all right, let me see. I don't know. I go and buy Gears of War.
Ooh,
Still to this fucking day, I'm a Gears fan.
dude, that
Like
was like the last
the
game me and my brothers played together, probably, or at least
bruh,
me,
like
me and
especially
him.
multiplayer, like that was one of the that was the first multiplayer game
That
I
made
was like,
sense.
I fucking suck.
It made
That
sense.
was a skilled game, which I didn't know
Yeah.
at the time. And then you started to realize like which turned into I can go down a whole rabbit hole on Gears of War.
Yeah.
I remember playing it. I used to get mad because I would use the Lancer and I didn't feel like the Lancer did enough, but people would just come around and what would they use? That shotgun. No, the shotgun,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yep, yep,
And
yep,
then you
yep.
start to realize that that created a culture out of Gears. Gears was a shotgun game,
Shotgun game, yep.
right? And when you get
Yep.
into it further, whoever's listening, like there's this thing called wall bouncing. People would bounce between walls because of how you can
A little glitch.
well it became a glitch, but what happened was yeah, it was a glitch turned into a skill, right? Because when Gears, right, you press the
Fucking
A button,
humans.
you'd use the whatever it was as cover, but people would wall bounce to go back and forth. So you would in many cases, if you're playing a fighting game or if you're playing certain shooting games, and especially in the fighting game, I'll say a fighting game because it's more related. There's certain things that people call cancel move. So you'll do your move like a Street Fighter. You're about to do uppercut, right? Yeah, yeah, or a fireball, but you would cancel it in between, right? So that will get someone off the movement, and then you can do a different move, right? So you like cancel a kick or whatever. There's like little I would consider like ghost hits or whatever.
Hmm.
So in Gears, it was kind of similar where people would wall cancel on a like going to the wall, and then became a situation where if you did it right, you're moving back and forth really quick. You use the I was gonna say shotgun, but let me make sure I say it properly. The Nasher, that's what they would call it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like almost a one hitter quitter on that.
That was my short run with Gears. I had 360
So,
for that hot time. That was a very revolutionary game.
dude, that game, and then there was this little game that was out at the time. It was called Call of Duty 2. People were like,
Hmm.
playing that. I was like, okay, this is
Hmm.
cool. I was like, this is really dope graphics. Oh, hella hard, right?
Yeah.
Then around this year called 2007, the world forever changed in first person shooter. Now, before that, I can't say which was the more popular first person shooter. There's a lot, but Halo was up there.
Yeah.
But 2007, this game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Damn, 2007? That's a million years ago. That's crazy, bro. I can't
17
believe
years.
that.
And ever since
Oh,
that
I can't
had a
imagine.
chokehold on people.
What is it? What is it about that? That's a long time franchise, bro. That's like a very successful franchise. What is it about that?
I don't know what it is about that. This is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say this. You know what it is right now, I feel like it's going on.
Yeah.
It's that people just know a name and stick with the name and rarely go outside of that name now.
Oh,
Like
okay.
think about this. Like NBA 2K is the biggest one of the biggest basketball games. It used to be live. NBA 2K took over.
Oh, I
Live is
know.
completely dead, right? There's no other
DEAD.
there's no other football game out there than Madden.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, 2K was
And
over.
and
Oh,
right now, This is me being my little bitter ass self. Right now, the name, once you solidify your name in something, people are not gonna move from it. You know, I'm still to this day a Nike stan. Like checks over stripes every time. I don't.
Whoa.
I'm just that dude, right? I
Yeah.
I had got me some boosts. I'm like, cool. The moment Nike came out with something similar, I'm jumping on that instead. You know?
What do you think got you to Nike? Was it inherited or was there a certain like thing that got you over?
Well, it was like well, growing up, yeah, I
Penny.
inherited. I was black and I was addicted to this. I don't know. We like round ends, you know what I'm saying? Round bottoms, right?
Sir Mix-a-Lot. Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Sir Mix Lie, kicking them nasty thoughts. I think just when no, it's pretty much growing up. Nikes were the thing, right? And I remember the air bubble technology and thinking like, I just want like how badly I wanted Nike Air on my shoe because then you knew they had that new air technology, right? And then when we were growing up, in my opinion, all the dopest ballers were in Nike, right?
Ooh.
But now, granted, I had the Kevin Johnson Converse, right, with the
Oh
Jeremy
yeah.
bottom,
Those were dope.
and I love those shoes.
Mhm.
But it was to a point where like
What you say, Kevin Johnson or Larry Johnson?
no Kevin Johnson, but Larry Johnson had them too.
Good cons, yeah, yeah, the
I wanted
gel.
the Kevin Johnson. Well, I wanted Larry Johnson, but I was like I can deal with the Kevin Johnsons because I liked him as a player, and he was the other like. Granted, I mean Larry Johnson isn't a Hall of Famer either, but I mean people look him up. Anybody looking up Kevin Johnson, regardless of whatever people think happened, he was a baller in the NBA. Um,
Truth.
I had and then when I found out he was from Sacramento, of course I'm representing that.
Repping.
But I still remember like around maybe 91, 92 for one of my uncle's camps. The jealousy I had from my cousin. We get there. My dad, we're like, can I get some basketball shoes? He gives us some ponies. And me and my brother are all upset, like, oh,
LaFonso Ellis.
got some pony shoes. What the heck? But
Ponies
whatever.
are
Had to
hard,
do
bro.
with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had to deal with the ponies. My dad wasn't going to spend that much.
Mm.
I'm getting ready. We're in Barstow area for my uncle's camp that he put together. And I'm getting ready to go, ready for the camp. My uncle comes around and gives one of my cousins, not even his own son, some Jordan sixes.
Oh,
And I always remember that I was upset that I couldn't get those. And then all of a sudden, out of all the shoes you can have, I can have every shoe in the world, but I couldn't get Jordans. That's why I'm obsessed to this day of getting not Jordans, because I'm not a Jordan fanatic as far as all Jordans. I'm a Jordan fanatic for mainly original colorways. When there's an
ooh.
original colorway, I'm jumping on that. And
Nostalgia.
it's not even like yeah, I have to have it. Like it's not even like I hate when they do a similar colorway, but it's like leather instead of felt. I'm like, I know I want the felt one. Like I want what I couldn't have as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up,
But
bro. Is that
but
why it's like that?
I don't know because some people just buy them no matter what. They think every colorway of Jordans are hot. I'm not that person. I'm more snobby. I'm like, no, I want original colorways. I want original. I want the sign on the back of the shoe to match the sign that was at during that time. Not like if it had the Nike and the swoosh, I want that. I don't want the Jordan and the Air underneath it, which is like there's people who are listening would understand. Like I want the original look, original style, because that's what I grew up desiring. Like if I could care less about the new style for some reason. And I whoever's listening, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. Some people should say, but it's such a desire. And yeah, it has to deal with nostalgia. It has to deal with a time of innocence, time of pure joy, you know, and it brings me back to a sense of pure joy. Even though I don't even wear these shoes that much, it gives me anxiety to wear them. It just gives me a part of like that joy of looking at the piece of art the way you wanted it and liked it, you know what I'm saying? So, um, but like even that, like, although now I know for sure I would never wear these shoes, but my all-time favorite shoes is the penny with the bubbles, the first pennies
Ooh, with the big swoosh,
with the big base swoosh.
look
Yeah,
like a whale mouth. Oh, that shit was dope.
I'm talking about, you don't talk about the ridge, like the one with
Mm.
the first bubble, not the first pennies. I guess they're considered the penny airs.
No, but the blue
Yeah,
swoosh with the white like lip, and then
yeah,
the
yeah,
ones you had were, yeah, the ones you got.
yeah. Those are the ones I got,
I
right?
hella want those. I was like,
This
ah,
man, I'm gonna tell you why. Also, I probably said this story before. That it's an emotional story for me, but I wanted those shoes so bad. And I remember they were so hot and hard to get during that time. And that's all I wanted for Christmas. So the story was my mom came up to me one time. It was like mid-November or whatever. She said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I couldn't get you those penny shoes for Christmas." And I fucking acted like a fool, like a spoiled dude, crying, mad as fuck, right? Like, you ain't never give me that. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like R. Kelly, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right. We had someone that was living with us at the time. This lady came up to me afterwards. She looked at me. She said, "You're acting a damn fool." I said, "Why?" "Because your mom got those shoes for you." "I'm not supposed to tell you that, but you treat your mom like this. She went halfway around the city to get these shoes for you." And that was the moment where I was like, well, one, I was like, okay, I'm an idiot. You know, you're like, damn, you look like an idiot for this. And then that was another part where it's like, damn, what your parents will do for you,
mm,
you know?
yeah,
Like at that time, I wanted to say she went all the way to Sunrise Mall to try to find them. That was,
back then that was like North Korea and shit.
yeah, that was right.
That was hella far. We're like, I never been out there. There's a mall out there. You go there, you're like, it's a
Yeah,
one-story
that
mall.
that
Where
was
did
a
this
whole.
come
That
from?
was. I mean, just going to even where we're living
Oh,
to Elk
man.
Grove was like that's a whole nother
Yeah, you had to
trip.
bring snacks
Yeah, like
and
hold on, this is the longest
water.
tour ever, man.
Get the
Yeah,
map out and be like, where's the rest
yeah.
stops at?
We're gonna now we're gonna walk there because we had a day off just to get to school in time to ride the bus back. Yeah, you remember that one? Like
Oh
we were just trying to
man.
figure it out. Like I
Those
think
were
it's this
fucking the
road.
best times, bro.
Man, we're just like, what was our mind? And be like, all right, I think we left at like 9 or 10 a.m. to walk there to get there by 2.
You know what that is? That movie Stand By Me. That's what that was.
I remember, this is what I remember. I remember like you guys hoofed it out and I was tired. Like, I was like, God, I don't want to quit. But you guys were like, nope, we're keep going. I was like, fuck. I was getting irritated.
Oh man, what the fuck are we thinking, bro?
Really did that. We really did that,
That's
man.
what America is right now. That's the kind of stupid shit we
Well,
do. It just
well,
walking for no reason.
bruh, you know what another dumb thing I remember us doing for some odd reason? We were so bored on our time off or track that we would go back to school to volunteer to be around friends,
Oh, for sure.
be a student volunteer.
Dog, we was in a small town, bro. We still a small town. Look how the media treats us, man. We about to have a professional baseball team here for 3 years,
You
and
going? You
everybody
going with me?
clowning us.
You going with me to a game?
Hell yeah, bro. Oh, it's gonna be Sacramento A's all day. I'm actually thinking about doing a show about it. I think we're just gonna do a sports
Bruh,
show. I'm just gonna cover
dude.
it straight up.
No, I like to be honest with you, like I think like regardless, I honestly so for me, I think that I've been pushing for the A's to come to Sacramento for years.
For hella
Ever
long.
since they talked about leaving, I was like, just come to Sacramento.
Hmm.
Figure out a way to build something in between Davis and Sacramento, West Sac or whatever, right?
Oh, that's
Right?
nice.
You build something there, you keep them here. Because here's my thought, right? There's a couple of reasons why. One,
Okay.
the Sacramento area is quietly a baseball town,
Mhm.
especially kids coming out of Elk Grove and Woodland. There's a
Yeah,
lot of baseball players.
a lot of
I think I
powerhouses
think
out
I
here.
think there's a lot more baseball players that come out professional in Sacramento than any other sports out of Sacramento, right? I want to say it's
Yeah.
baseball.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I would say so.
So you're already doing that. Then the other part is I'm so California dude. I'm like, I'm looking at it like this. Why don't we do what we can do to keep teams in California, right? Instead
Yeah.
of like looking like boo-boo the fool through the rest of the states, because people already think of us that way, that we're
Yeah.
losing teams, we're losing business. Why don't
Yeah.
we do what we need to do to keep the businesses here? A
Yeah.
lot of big time tech companies and stuff starting in California. So why are we not keeping them here? You know?
Yeah. This can't be
Now,
the end of California, bro.
yeah,
This
and that's
can't
just
be.
how I feel. This is how that's just how I feel. I'm not gonna sit here and deny my bias to it. I'm not against any other states. What I'm against is other states talking trash and us looking like fools,
That's
right?
also true. Yeah.
Now at the same time, do I think when it comes to business, do I think like we give the companies everything they want? No, but you got to work something out for them. You know what I'm saying?
True. Agreed.
You know,
Agreed. Yeah, man. That's yeah. Sacramento.
so
A's coming.
Sacramento to me would be like, granted, there may not be a fan base. I feel like Sacramento didn't have a fan base for a very long time. People would go to Sacramento games to watch other teams
Hmm.
for a very long time. We'll let that be, but I'd rather just have them here. I think it would be good for this area, even if it's between Davis, California, or Woodland and Sacramento, West Sac, whatever. Just like make a central location and call it that, because I'd rather just see a team stay here, instead of
Yep.
getting lost to Las Vegas or whatever. And even Las Vegas right now is questionable on taking them. But that has to deal with the ownership. That's a whole nother story.
Hmm. Yeah.
I honestly think too, granted, like I know people may not like this, even though the NBA did this for the Clippers. Personally, I think that Major League needs to force the owner to sell it, because if you're not really trying to put out a product, I personally think that's bad for the league. You know, like
Yeah, but they
really,
fucking there's hella teams that do that though. Like year to year, especially like they always say like Tampa Bay or Marlins sometimes like they'll go at it and then they'll just be like, ah, we ain't gonna pay. We're just gonna do league minimum.
but
Knowing
but
that.
but but they sometimes do a year where they actually pay for people, right?
Mhm.
I don't know when the last time the A's actually did that.
Also true.
You know what I'm saying? Like the A's are the greatest farm team for Yankees.
Oh man.
Isn't that not true? Like
That's
they
true.
set up everybody else to get pilfered, and like, here you go. And
Who
I know
knows?
it's kind of crazy because
Hurst.
it's like telling me to tell you how to run your business, but it's like there's a part where if you're part of an organization, you're not really represented the best way, and you're not really, you know, it's detriment to the fans. It's fucking it up for the fans.
That's very
You
true.
know?
They did Oakland a disservice. I was a big Oakland fan growing up
Yeah.
before I was a like big Giants fan, but yeah, like the fact that they're coming, I'm like, that's dope. The fact that Oakland is losing that tradition, at least in my lifetime, I was like, that is kind of sad because that was some great teams like Ricky Henderson. Come on, man, Mark McGuire, Jose Canseco. It's like
Yeah.
they're
A whole
almost making,
Canseco bat?
yeah,
Like Ninja
dude,
Turtle.
come
A
on,
whole
bro.
Canseco bat? Tell me the full price. I always remember that. Raphael, man, in New
Hmm.
York.
Jose Canseco bat. Come on, Jose Canseco was an icon, bro. It's like they
The
had to do
Bash
some
Brothers, knowing
humiliation.
that the Bash Brothers, knowing that it's when we look back at it,
Oh,
they were all Balcoed out. You know what I'm saying? Which I
that's
didn't
when the
realize,
game was fun, man.
dude. I didn't realize that when they because I was watching the whole thing about Balco, I was like, that was literally in California. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Literally in the Bay.
Yeah. What is
A
the
whole
what is
thing.
that? It's the unfairness, right? That's really what it is. The
I think
advantage.
Well, we talked about this in many other podcasts about like is the NBA fake and whatnot, and how people get all upset if it is or isn't, or the NFL. But yet people will watch WrestleMania. I mean, literally, ESPN will go over WrestleMania. It's like it's all scripted. Why are we going over WrestleMania on ESPN?
Good point.
Right?
Are they
Now,
insinuating one is the same?
from my understanding, it's scripted to a point. I don't know. I mean, I know people go off course, and then people get mad at like there's certain real situations where people go off course and they get mad about it, right?
True. There is a level of uncertainty in wrestling, not as much as basketball. Like
Mhm.
in sports, I think sports is uber competitive, But the thing that fucks it up is officiating, and the idea of betting being tied to sports is really fucking up or at least putting integrity into question. Because you're always going to hear some
Yeah.
weird story about a player betting, and then you're also seeing revenue hikes, high up there. You just had a scandal in baseball with possibly the face of the Babe
Yeah.
Ruth of the era just had a
Well,
scandal
Otani,
swept away.
yeah.
Yeah, just nobody
And
talking
now,
about it.
I mean, we can go back to where we started at the beginning. Now we can kind of say, okay, he's coming out. The guy is coming out saying he betted on it, right? But if we're going from the beginning, we can all say it's a cover up, right?
True.
We
Who's to
could. I mean,
say?
you could throw it out there and say it's a cover up, right? Just like all these other things going on. Now, there's a part of me was like, we watch many shows and it's scripted and enjoy it. Why is it that you get upset about basketball about it, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, people watch fake reality TV show.
But I think that's why the NBA has become such a good product after the embracing of the Stern era, where it was like embrace the superstar. Not to say
Yeah,
get away from the team play, but essentially you put your hands of your, league into, a handful of players that can
yeah.
be marketable. That's really what happened. And then therefore it in turn creates the way that people come up playing the game, at least in certain cultures, right?
Well, that's a fact because like even literally, I'm looking at it like Caitlin Clark pops up, right?
Okay.
And she's the women baller, right? That averaged 30 points a game or whatever
Ball in.
in the
Legendary.
last 4 years, right? Legendary, right? She talked more about than the team that won. You know, the
Yep.
team that won, she's talked about more than that, right? And what you said earlier, because I was you were talking about how like officiating plays a role to it. So there was a part where I was watching it and I was watching any of the games. I was just following the stats, right? And so I started to notice that like Iowa, maybe they're just this good, but Iowa, everything they played against, or sorry, up to playing South Carolina, the opposing team averaged six more fouls than Iowa did. Six more fouls, right, throughout the whole thing. UConn had nine more fouls than Iowa. Okay, which equated to I think it was 9 free throws for Connecticut to Iowa's 19 attempts, right? And I wanted to say UConn lost by 2. Okay. When I was following, because I didn't watch the game, I was following on ESPN to see what the thing is, because I had brought that up. When I was following before SC SC started taking away, at one point, South Carolina had 7 more fouls and 10 more attempts, free throw attempts. Or sorry, let me take it back. They had 7 more fouls in Iowa, and Iowa had 10 more free throw attempts than SC, right? If we were to look at the stats, even though I think they won by 13, and granted the girls shot really bad at free throw for SC, so at that point it was at the one it's like at the end of the game they start fouling to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when you look at the stats across the board, you're like, for the most part, SC dominated them. SC had 22 more rebounds. I think it was 52 to 29. Out rebound them. Statistically outshot them, right? They SC had like 45% or 50% and made one less 3-pointer than Iowa. But Iowa had almost 10 or 11 more free throw attempts. And it was like, because when you in statistics, usually if you're out rebounding, you're shooting better, and you only have one less three, you're usually going to be dominating the team. You know what I'm saying?
Anomaly.
Maybe. No, I mean, come on. I mean, if you ask Kings fans, it's not an anomaly, right?
That's what I was about to say. I was like, you sound
Yeah.
like a Kings fan talking about that LA
No,
series.
because like I forgot there was a report. There was a report that came out a couple of weeks ago where it showed the foul calls for, right? And like I think the year before they found out that the Lakers had way more free throw attempts than any other team, you know? So the thing too is like in officiating, it's not only what like just fouls, but like the
relationships,
degree of a foul. I mean, like when are they fouled and when is it called? You know what I'm saying?
tendencies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I'm saying is like
Personalities.
a foul is not a foul, right? If I foul you on the floor, that's one
Hmm.
thing. If I foul you in a shooting movement, or if I call a foul in a shooting movement, more likely, then that person gets more attempts. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Or more opportunities to score.
True.
So every foul is not necessarily equal.
True. But they also changed the rules quite a bit. So imagine this shift and change of officiating that has to happen within an off season. Like the James Harden, whatever they had to change the
Oh yeah,
rules. And then like Steph Curry, the 3-point, attempt shit. You know what I'm saying? Like those little things, and then officiating got to be on the fly with it on top of everything else. I'm like, I can understand the variable that referees, bring to the game, you know.
yeah,
And I think it's good for all sport because now it brings in intrigue. It brings in a third element that is, without the power of the players, essentially. It's players and officiating.
yeah.
uh, and it's always subjective and there's personalities and it's reciprocal. There's always a Draymond Green in every generation. You know,
No,
it's
for sure. You got to go right. You got to have
it-
that right. But it is like
it's a good soap opera, man. They have
it,
their
it,
set
it's the
characters
it's the players against the players, the refs against the players, and everyone against the refs.
and everybody gets the refs. Yeah,
Right? Like
yeah,
they're like police officers, literally, like unthanked, right, for the most part,
yeah.
neutral. And then people, like 'cause I have some friends that are like, I'm saying we need more accurate refs. And there's a part I get it, and then there's a part of like, I think having the human element makes it more
The
enjoyable.
game. Yeah,
Because if it was all stale and perfect all the time, I get it.
yeah,
You want it that way. But sometimes that human element drives up the passion. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
That's what keeps the scales just ever so. It's
Yeah. And it looks
never.
like
It's
Thanos would
just
say, you know?
yeah. So you're saying he's
So
the
so
hero, not the
yeah.
villain.
So I wanted to just read the actual stats. Like
Okay, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
so the Iowa shot 39% field goal.
Okay.
South Carolina shot 47%.
Oof.
South Carolina was 35 out of 73. Iowa was 25 out of 63, right?
Okay. 10 more attempts. Okay.
Iowa shot 39.1% at 3 points, right?
Yeah. That's
They
pretty
were
good.
9.3.
Okay.
South Carolina was 8 for 19, shot 42%,
Ooh.
right? Up until the end where they started to foul more to keep the game in. But when I say it out loud, you're gonna be like, okay, it doesn't sound that different, but the game was not that way at the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
Uh Iowa, this is where they were doing really good. They were 16 for 20 for free throws,
Ooh, wee.
right? And in South Carolina was 9 for 17. So
Take your free throws, folks.
make your free throws, right? But at the time, that wasn't the case. It was so lopsided on free throws when I was watching it. I
Oh,
think I think I wanted to say, yeah. So obviously they're gonna have more fouls, but what you call it? South Carolina had 17 fouls to Iowa's 14.
see?
You know.
You
Oh
have to
yeah.
consider it now.
Reiterate too.
Yeah.
And like I said, these are usually stats where it shows the team is doing better. South Carolina had 51 rebounds to Iowa's 29. South Carolina
Damn.
had 16 assists to Iowa's 13. Usually, the
Damn.
team's playing good by assists and certain things, right?
Yeah.
Um, South Carolina had 8 steals to Iowa's 6.
Yeah.
South Carolina had 8 blocks to Iowa's 4. Now, where South Carolina messed up was Iowa had nine turnovers to South Carolina's 13. But for the most part, it was domination throughout the whole stat line.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Free throws.
But besides free throws, right?
The big chunk.
It is, but at the same time, by that time, it was one of those situations where they were just trying to, like, at the end of the game, coaching, you're trying to slow down the game so you foul as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the free throw attempts was kind of in the situation where it's like for at least South Carolina was just in a situation where Iowa was already, as far as free throws, already had an advantage, but they just weren't making them. South Carolina wasn't making them. But yeah, in many cases, it was just a domination on all ends. You know?
See, that's why you can't watch sports now without considering it. Not to say that is the case, but it is strange that we are now marrying, live betting in action to the minute with sports all across the board. And simultaneously, these athletes are becoming, uh, you know, highly paid personalities and superstars as early as high school.
They're YouTube famous now. You know,
Hmm.
and that's before they even go pro. You know, some of these
Yeah.
girls are getting a bunch of money. And I think we had the discussion. It's like, okay, cool, not cool. At the same time, I'm like, cool, not cool. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
but
it's
but
hard
they
to
bring in,
quantify.
but when you bring in that amount of attention, then you should get paid. Is what people
Yeah.
say. You know,
Yeah. It's almost like, have we replaced Hollywood in the idea that, people who do content, quote unquote, are now being signed and represented of that world, where instead of having hired and paid actors and people like that, you basically just have people who are quote unquote real people that do something in relation. You just use them as personalities, and this is now the new.
or maybe they're just what they call them, implants or inserts or whatever they call it, incels or whatever they call people
Yeah.
who are
A
not really
plant,
a plant.
industry
Yeah,
plant,
there are plants, which
horticulture, eat your plants.
right there goes the plant. Eat them.
I mean, it's an interesting theory. I could get behind anything.
I
Me.
don't. I'm not against it. I think that it's always like, what is it like? Although people are saying Cat Williams is true, it's like it's always the haters that are the ones that want to say something that's not real. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Right? Like you didn't do this. It's like okay, all right. It's
Hmm.
it's 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 usually the not successful person that's saying that the other person didn't do it.
Yeah, that's true.
But we're plants. We're not even real.
That's what
We're
I'm thinking. I'm
yeah.
thinking we're being revealed of who we're learning something about ourselves, like in modern day. Something is
Yeah.
revealing itself to us clearly because everything that we talked about, they
Mhm.
flipped our entire childhood upside down on its head. They started fucking with us with Britney Spears. What color was her skirt? You know what I'm saying? Is this yellow? Is this a
Oh
purple
yeah,
dress?
you brought the skirt thing. Oh God,
But
yeah,
you see what I'm saying though? Like, you know what I'm saying? All the Diddy stuff, you're like anything that you thought was going on, this is what's going on. It's like, all right, timeout. Okay. Let me
yeah. Let's clear our
is
head.
this just TV reimagined in my mind? Because these things are now all imprinted in perpetuity. They gave us enough content to want to follow. It's sensationalism at its greatest, where we're so accustomed to understanding, oh man, WWE is crazy. I'm gonna watch this. Not understanding that, wait. Oh, this is all kind of a weird act, a drama series, because technically we ain't really participating in it in the
Mhm.
way that we follow these people. They just now figured out a way to extend their careers. And now I think when we were growing up, Frank Sinatra, Tom Jones, those are those people right now. We're seeing them about
Yeah,
to be them,
you're definitely seeing longevity of people's careers longer, right?
and
Because
not
like
in a musical
you,
way.
but it's like weird because it's kind of funny you say it because like it's kind of in many cases I kind of joke around and say it's like the boomers of job titles, right? How many times boomers didn't want to let go of their jobs and retire to let us get our opportunity, right?
True.
That's why I also think this is why I also think that J. Cole song Middle Child makes more sense to us, where we're like this middle generation of like not only just hip hop, right? Where you're like where you had the golden era before us, and you might be trapped between the trap era, right? And our generation is just like this weird middle child that gets often looked at. In many cases, too. Now, some have switched it. There have been jobs that were not relinquished by boomers because they're holding on to it, right? And now, when we get into our age to have finally good jobs, some of these younger kids are getting it faster than what we had, right?
Mm.
But what I was gonna say is like you're seeing, right, like in football. I mean, now we have Patrick Mahomes, but it's like and the guy from Bills right now, I can't think of his name. Um, but for a very long time, when we have quarterbacks in the league, they make them last for a very long time,
Make
right?
it last
And
forever.
right, like LeBron retire between, well, luckily Curry came in, but had he retired between 2017 or so, the NBA would have some of a void, mainly only having Curry as the figurehead. You know, like the NBA wants to keep certain players around for a long time. Like Magic Jordan or Michael Jordan, in a way, kind of came back because even though NBA to us was good, to some other people, you needed Jordan to come back to bring more viewership.
It was that much of a dramatic drop for sure.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? But like me, I was a basketball fan. I watched it. I was like, I didn't care. Now, would I say that it felt different when Jordan came back? Yeah, it felt like the NBA was complete again. But I still love the NBA. You know what I'm saying?
NBA is
Um,
good. NBA is good.
but yeah, I feel like there's a lot of these people that are like even rappers. Like, why is Jay-Z still around? Like, why don't you retire? Why, like there's these rappers that like or Eminem's still rapping at times, and it's kind of people who are like, geez, you guys are not really quitting. You know,
Exactly.
while there were people when we were growing up, we're like, oh, we're done. You know,
What's the game exactly? You know, that it's strange to see it, this far in. That's why it's like, what do these people become? And then you realize they're like almost not necessarily pop icons, but in terms of our generation, they still have room in our subconscious. Just because of
yeah.
the, I guess longevity. Hard to
But it's the
say.
name, right? It's the name, right? Like I said
True.
earlier, like oh Nike, right? And then once you make your name
Oh,
something, it gets stuck. Like Lululemon. I have some Lululemon sweatpants. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. Why it's so hot?
yeah.
You know? I really don't. Like I'm like, okay, I got some Lululemon, all right. But people are like, you gotta get Lululemon, and you get certain things. You're like, that's it's okay, you know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure for some people who are listening, that's like Apple to them. Apple iPhone don't do them anything. They're like, I don't care.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like the namesake of Apple has held it into its prominence because of the name and the stranglehold of being fashionably cool or wealthy or well-to-do by having an iPhone. You know?
Isn't that crazy? That's how we interpret that. See, is that on our own mind, or is that kind of baked into how, you know, program? And it's not even a bad thing because now I really think like, yeah, man, I'm not saying someone's pulling the levers, but there's a little bit of magic, but there's also a little bit of like, geometry and number systems up in there or something. It's some kind of Fibonacci situation because the way and how this is playing out in the subconscious and the information. Yes,
Mhm.
theoretically we could. Dude, there's a lot of space out there for a lot of different ideas and things, especially now that we
But
have.
it, but it, but it kind of dies. It's like the way of unfortunately we talked about this. It's kind of the way of mom and pop shops,
Yeah.
right? It's not until it's sometimes it's the lucky ones that like everybody else is closing around them, and now you have your boutique store that is open selling records.
That's the
Records
test of
dying,
time.
and then all of a sudden records come back. The people who fought through the downtimes and became the only record store standing are now more popular. While there is other ones like, oh, this is going out, I got to give up because people are not buying records. Now that's back. Well, I feel like
I
it's
gotta
the same thing
move.
with certain restaurants right now, right? For the
Uh-huh.
most part, we talked about this offline a day or two about like I think that we did, maybe we didn't, but we're talking about minimum wage going up and how it really affects mom and pop shops, right? Mom and pop shops are kind of screwed on these minimum wage things in California. And now what happens is the companies that can afford that are large companies, right? I think I just read somewhere where wherever they came out of nowhere, left field, just like I feel like Chick-fil-A did, they're opening up another Raising Cane, right? Like Raising Cane is popping up everywhere.
Okay.
And then it becomes a situation where kind of like Demolition Man. The only thing standing is fast food restaurants. I'm not saying it won't, but that's what it's turned into because it's like, well, everyone else who has the desire to make a restaurant or whatever, it's hard to do that. Why? Because the price, the cost, or whatever. And then because most people and most of their kid, well, not most people, well, let's say people with kids are like, I want the same chicken nuggets because they don't eat anything outside of chicken fingers, burgers, and pizza,
True.
right? These places start to shut down unless it's a very cheap place. Meaning, and I'm not saying like cheap, but like cheap overhead, like pho places in Sacramento.
Hard. It's
And
getting hard.
even that's kind of getting hard for some, right?
Yeah.
The
Well,
water's
because
hot.
the
Because
minimum
water's
wage,
hot.
I think, I don't know if I know this correctly, but it applies to, like, bigger restaurants, right?
Hmm.
Bigger chains of fast food, whatever. However they distinguish that, I don't know. But also it implies it already too. So even though a regular mom and pop or smaller restaurant doesn't have to do it, but if you're working and you're working
If
with
you, yes, if you're
it's
trying to,
implied.
if you're
Yes.
if you're if you're trying to get someone to work there and you have them a choice, like, hey, work here.
If it's a money grab, which usually
Yeah,
young people would, a lot of them would go for just
more
money.
money.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go here. I'm getting $20 an hour, which is another part where it's like fast food places are getting $20 an hour, but somehow another place is getting 16 at, say, I'm a part-time worker at Target. I'm a little kid. I mean, I'd rather probably go to Target than working at fast food because to me, I hate it working fast food.
You never know. That shit could be fashionable pretty soon, bro.
I mean, okay, let me make sure I say that right because I did like working at Round Table, but I didn't want to be in a fast food restaurant around fryers and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like in the kitchen,
Oh,
kitchen.
yeah, it was just it was a different pace for being a fast food restaurant. But yeah, I mean, I was doing some small types of math about like how there are jobs and people get degrees for the state of California, right? And may make 80 cents more an hour than someone working at a fast food restaurant. And I'm
True.
like, it makes sense, right? And I say
Mm-hmm.
that because for most of these people going to college at the current moment, they're going into debt.
Oof.
They're going into
Yeah.
debt, right? To better themselves, right?
Yeah.
And then you're doing all that. They're probably working at a fast food restaurant too at the time. I don't know, maybe they're going through
Easily.
that to pay for the school to finally get out and try to get a good job, right? Now I say that they get a good job and they're getting out after a degree that costs them maybe 50, $60,000. They're not even getting a job that starts that, right? They're probably getting a job that starts at 45 or 50. But just say it's 45. You're looking at probably now that'd be like roughly $22 an hour. But let's bring it down to 41 to $42,000, right? Yeah, they get out and get a job. If someone was working full time at a fast food restaurant, they're making them the same, you know?
It's crazy, bro.
Make sure my math is right.
Uh,
Be mathing. Yeah.
spot on.
If there was $20 an hour for 40 hours for 52 weeks, you'll look at 41,600 bucks.
That's crazy. See, so I don't know what that is. See, and my thinking is, and what I think we talked about last week was like, I think this is just the easiest, best way to acclimate incoming immigrants.
Yeah, yeah, you said that. Yeah.
You weed out businesses, like you really definitively go from a class system, essentially, no middle class. You just go, here's really rich, here's everybody else. Okay. Everybody in the middle is just going to be swallowed up by the policies. Boom. We have a lot of aid coming in by way of taxes, set these people up with visas, phones, all the resources they need to kind of quote unquote get set up, whatever that may be. As that's happening, I think there's people that are returning to industry, or things are, getting to a point where people want to get paid more because of inflation, but there's going to be probably a lot of closures, a lot of firings, which are already reported. So does that. The workforce is overqualified, not enough jobs,
Mhm.
and then they need to hire people who's an available workforce that could be hired for cheap or under a certain regulation. I would think immigrants, right? which they're
Yeah.
here. So everybody's complaining. It's like, when call centers left and, they went overseas. It's just now if the idea is it would be for immigrant work. So essentially it's not, not to say it's a bad idea. It's just that's just a way to look at it where you're like, because we do this, I'm assuming every so often, because
Mhm.
everybody's been a wave of immigration to some degree, and usually it's backed by some, workforce idea or whatever the package is. It's kind of presented that way, and I think to some degree, whether it's stated or not, maybe that's what this is, because it's happening in big states where usually they accept most of the immigrants coming in. So I think when it's politicized, when you have them flying over to Martha's Vineyard and flying over to other states and people, I think all that's political. I don't know if that's true or not. That's really happening, but the immigration I think is true.
At
I
least in
think it's just
California, yes,
affecting.
I think so. Because like I I was trying to do a research earlier today to look up at least minimum wage through different states. And last time I looked, or this earlier today when I looked, it was saying that Texas minimum wage is 7.25, right?
Yeah,
So California's minimum wage is $9 more just basic than Texas is right now. Okay. I went I went down, and it might be for immigration. I went down the whole rabbit hole of looking things up where I was like, okay, what's been the rate of inflation from 2021 or 2001, right? Till
yeah,
now, or at least 2003 or 23. And I won, it was like 61%. But I was like, no, we got to do California because we have to add in California. Like, say that.
yeah,
Even though 675 was a California minimum wage, I think it was like five something at that time. That was
yeah, yeah,
right. So I put in 675 at that time, and then I put the multiplier of 1.8, right? It ended up being still $12 an hour. So our not so our minimum wage has surpassed the inflation rate or whatever. Because I only brought that up because I had a person at a particular store. I was like, oh man, I noticed your guys' price went up again. I was like, oh dang. And he was like, I was like, oh yeah, minimum wage went up. And then he said, I was like, yeah, minimum wage is $16. Like, no, we're $20. I was like, well, you guys are considered fast food. He said, yeah. I said, man, it's getting kind of expensive. Or I said, that's kind of high. He's like, well, California. And I'm like, there was a part of me where I'm like, no, this is bullshit. No, it's not. Right? No, it's not. Like I guess how I look at it, I might sound gatekeeping. That's fine because we went through it. But there's a part of me where there's people working these places that are feeling that when they work minimum wage, they're entitled to more. And I feel like when we grew up, we knew what it was. You're like, okay, minimum wage just sucks, but like I'm going to go somewhere else and get more. No, now it's the opposite, where it's like, no, you need to pay me more to basically do anything, which is kind of like a give and take. Where like, damn, do I give the kids credit for having self realization and self pride of knowing their worth? Sure, to an extent. But then there's a part two is like, no. Like sometimes you got to do shit you don't want to do in order to get to where you want to be. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, but I thought it was kind of BS for saying that because I'm like, well, if you're saying it's $20, it's $20 across the board of California, right? You can be in a place like Fresno.
yeah,
Fresno's a cheaper cost of living.
yeah. Be balling
You
out there. It's true.
to
That's
say
true.
that. I was like, that's BS. Now, I wanted to back up my because I get stuck on these ideas like we talked about earlier.
Uh-huh.
So I had to look it up. There's this position called the staff services analyst, right? And it says the minimum qualification is equivalent to completing 12th grade and 4 years of experience performing analytical, technical, clerical, and or customer service duty. Academic education from an accredited college, university may be substitute for the requirement experience on a year for year basis. That means, right, that you can have a year of college, 3 years of customer service and doing analytical work, or you can have 4 years of analytical work doing something that you're working to get this job, right? Or a 4 year degree that will substitute. At
Yeah.
least that's what I get from it, right? Well, when I looked at the base price of this job, right, I had broke it down. If someone was working $20 an hour, for 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year at a fast food restaurant, they would roughly make $3,466 a month. Okay. These same people who need to have a 4 years of experience or a 4 year degree starting off would make $3,640. That's equivalent to making, let me see, $173 more a month by putting theoretically more work or more time into something than someone at a fast food restaurant.
That is backwards.
Right? This is now granted, this rule was put into place by the governor of California to why do you do this? It's like, oh, I want to pay fast food restaurant people, blah blah. What I believe he thought it was, which doesn't work to be. Sorry, I'm going political. I think he thought, oh, we're gonna make the corporations pay. No, the corporations are gonna make you pay because that's how they got there. They're not gonna take the money out of their pockets. They're gonna take the money out of people who are paying them.
Taxes.
They're gonna charge us more.
True.
Right? Now, a governor says all this. Now, granted, this is what the sooner or later is going to be an increase to it, but at this current moment, right? But the governor says this, and then you look at it and you will say, well, okay, fine. How about we at least increase the state workers' pay? No, we can't do that. It's too much government taxes, right? We'll give you a 2% raise while inflation is 6%.
Oof.
So you're down negative 4%. Theoretically, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm rambling right now.
No. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's like you're gonna tell me that people at a fast food restaurant they're not really because you work for a state, you get medical care, but it's like technically these people are getting paid more or are equivalent to certain people. And I'm not even including if there's holiday pay
Oh yes, that's very true.
for fast food, you know?
Yeah. I don't know what that package
Or time
includes.
and a half for some people, you know?
Yeah. That might be the hip thing to do, man. That might be the hip thing. This would be like that Judge Dredd. Taco Bell is gonna dominate. Or was it Judge Dredd or Fifth
No,
Element?
it was Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. They got us on the gong. Taco Bell's commercial is just a gong and some cool music, bro. They got us
Dude,
conditioned.
when they got rid of Viva what was it? Yo Quiero Taco Bell, that was racist, right? That
Oh, I
literally
know.
that was, right? And I was surprised. You know, it was well, how can I
Yo,
say
Taco
it?
Bell.
Yo Quiero Taco Bell was racist, right?
Man,
And
that
as a
was the
young black kid,
downfall.
this is the funny part. Yeah, it was probably the beginning, but this is the funny part, right? As a young black kid, I was like, what? Right? But the moment someone said something about black people, I was enraged. So there's a part where I was like, I'm being a hypocrite on this, right? Where the moment where
Mhm.
you're like, ha ha ha, what? You guys are being whatever. And then it was like, like say a white person had a commercial for a pick and it was like, go pick yourself with the afro or whatever.
Yes,
Okay, I'd have been mad about that,
that's
right?
true.
And so there was a part where I was like, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I became more aware, even if I think it's funny or not, I've become aware of like I can see how this could be an
No
issue.
problem.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
you know,
why though? That's what I don't get. How did we go from like, yeah, Yo Quiero Taco Bell being the most genius marketing to that's racist?
here's
Like,
my
who
thing.
is championing this?
Here's my thing. I don't have to agree with someone, but I can understand where they're coming from. Does that make
Uh,
sense?
yeah,
Like you don't have to sit
that's
there and be like,
true.
ah man, whatever. But if you feel offended to it, then
Common
like
ground.
it's like I can respect that. I don't think it should be that. I'll just give you your
Yes.
personal thing. Like you may feel. I mean, you don't really. I don't know if there's anything that really offend you right now, but um, there's a part where I've gotten a part where I'm just like, this is just what you don't like, and who am I to sit there and say you can't like it or not be offended by it? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
That's where I'm coming from. That doesn't mean I agree too much.
Yes.
I'm just like, I'll try to respect that person.
Yeah,
Like,
your opinion. Yeah, that's true. That's
you
true.
know,
That is the route to go. I agree. I agree.
I just know not to bring it up around you. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that sounds fake, but it's like, I don't have to bring it up around you
Oh,
because
that's
I
true. That's true.
don't like
Yeah.
it, yo.
Yeah. That's true.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, the immigration thing, I don't know, man. I think about that and because I always think like whatever media pushes, I'm always trying to think, upstream. It's that way of thinking, like trying to search for like exclusive shit or trying to be very particular. I think it has something to do, at least my
well, does
mind kind
it?
of
Does
programmed
it?
that
Because
way.
here's the thing. Because like this sounds really bad, but if it's about immigration, most immigrant people are working under the table, all right?
Hmm.
So it's like I'm trying to figure out how is it on immigration because the people are. It's a mixture of they're being exploited and they are exploiting the system.
Hmm.
That makes sense, right? Like me as a person, knowing that someone may be an immigrant and I pay them cheaper wages because they're an immigrant, then I'm exploiting the system situation, right?
Hmm.
But some of them also knowing that will say, "Hey, I'll come in here, I'll do this for $600," and devaluing the market, right?
Mm.
Right. So it's a mixture of a give and take, right? It's someone doing that, and it's you agree upon it, right? Like I heard from friends from art and music and just photography. It's like you know the moment you start lowering your price down, right? Now, granted, it all depends. Usually, the lower price equates to your quality, but if you have a good quality and you lower your price down, now that degrades the market in many cases for some people, right? In the mid 2000s, right, when 50 Cent was coming out and making a lot of beats, he was saying verbally he was not going to pay $10,000 for a beat for a producer. So he started to get these homemade producers and start paying them less. And then started to lower the price. I wanted to say actually producers used to make way more of a beat than they did now. Right. But like I remember hearing like 30,000 a beat. Like what?
Yeah,
And
sounds
then
about right.
50 was coming out because he knew that there was a lot of producers that were hungry to do that would come out like, nah, I'm not paying you that. So I'll pay you 5,000, 4,000.
That also makes sense.
And now the market out dropped.
Mm. Like to undercut the market.
Yeah. Now,
That's
granted though, once you become hot enough, you can ask for more anyway. You know what I'm saying?
very true. I think that's everybody's game. I mean, you see that all the time in restaurants, like a business model that undercuts and then it explodes and then it trends out.
Amazon, right?
Yeah,
But
that's
Amazon hasn't really raised the price on. Well, I guess they raised the price on Prime. Got you hooked on Prime, and all of a sudden now it's like 150.
well, that's the real hustle.
When it started off at $9 or something like that, you're like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, it was inevitable. That's it's man, it's the battle for, our attention, you know. I think yeah, like immigration, because I look at it sometimes, working in the restaurant biz, that's majority of the industry is immigration, immigrants coming in illegally. Um, yeah, I'm thinking in my mind, I was like, this has probably been constant. I think for me is like, where did it all begin? And if that's not really clear to me, then clearly this is just there's something going on with moving people either into the country or out of the country because you see different types of people sprout up. More recently, to me, being introduced to like Mien and Hmong people was eye opening. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't really know that many, and then they were all kind of around all of a sudden. And I don't know if that's just industry wise or whatever, but I'm just like, oh, that's so fascinating. And then realizing, oh, there's constantly new swaths of people just coming in, especially to a place like, where we're at. I'm like, dude, there's always new ethnicities probably coming in here. This is like the capital of California. I'm assuming migration's coming here, and there's just a whole bunch of different people coming here. I was like, all right, if immigration's always a problem, it's like, has there anything ever really been done? Because it feels like that has only sprouted up in the last like 8 years, at least aggressively. You know what I'm saying? Where you see the swaths of people march in with new Nikes on and a backpack, like, man, we going. all the way from Peru. I was like, damn, females and kids walking that far? That's crazy. And then to the new one, the Venezuelans and the Chinese and the Africans or whoever's at the border. While I'm like, damn, like what is this exactly? And how common
You
is
know,
this?
you know what? It's weird. I don't know. I mean, because I don't want to go. I'm not educated in it as much.
Me
As
neither.
much.
I'm just seeing what I
But
see. I'm
but
like, yo, we just
but
some.
it looks to be that there's certain incentives that is causing that to come, right? Because before, right, we used to be like, it was like when we were growing up, right? One of the things I always remember was like, give your homeless or your hunger, your blah blah, right? And it was a thing for people to get an opportunity to grow and make America strong. Be like, come over here, work for us. We'll push you to work, and you'll have the best life that you ever had, right? And some of them would be like, yes, right, not knowing in many cases I'm being kind of negative, but like not knowing it's not, it's you're you're giving up one oppression for a different one that you don't realize. You're coming in like, okay, yeah, and you come just like, okay, well, and I'm at this minimum wage, but at least I have it. The standard of living is different because like at least I have an air conditioner and blah blah instead of a
I
sweaty
have a
home.
TV. Look at this.
Yeah, yeah. Look at this. I got this car. But when you grow up in it, you're adapted to it. Like that sucks, right? So it's like the reverse role. So we used to welcome that in. And then at one point, we're like, we can't take any more immigrants, right? Because they're taking up too much stuff. And a lot of it was from some Americans, as we and just human nature, as we make more money, we want to keep more money. We want to keep our job. We want to make our money go more valuable. And in many cases, there's either lower labor or things that the government was handing out to immigration. I'm assuming just like welfare,
Incentive
a form
base.
of welfare to
Mm,
incentivize the people to do that, right?
mm,
In many cases, I will say that there's probably me, I don't know, I have to probably look this up, but maybe there's a correlation between immigration and welfare, right?
mm.
And when you look at it, right, like in many places of people who are on welfare, they're they're not really motivated to get off of welfare. They're not motivated to change the way they are. They're motivated to stay the way they are because I'm not saying easier, although I will say, as I've gone through certain things in life, like depression and sadness, when you make it easier for yourself, you actually make it harder for yourself,
Mm,
right? So when things come easy and you don't work for it, then you become lazy and complacent, right?
mm.
So when you do that and you're flushing some form of free money where you don't have to really work for it, then you're just like, okay, well, and it's all individuals, but some people will be okay with it and not feel like they have to do anything more. You become lazy and complacent and whatnot, and you become stagnant in your growth. You know, now that's welfare, but it could be certain things in immigration too that's motivating the immigration to come in. Now, granted, we have to understand too where these people are coming from. Why are they coming here? You know, what is it the opportunity that they're seeing different? You know,
Mm.
but I will also throw in another economic factor is that our dollar and the amount that we are paying people weighs so much more heavily compared to so many different people around the world. You know,
Mm.
like one of the jokes while I was in the Navy is that there's a lot of people that are Filipino, they'll join the military, they'll retire, and they'll send their money back to the Philippines. Their money goes a long way. As of
Really?
right now, as of right now, that'd be California to Texas. Like right.
Very, very similar.
I'm done. Because there's a part where I've seen people right that like worked for California businesses or government and be like, all right, I worked my years, made all my money in California. I'm gonna move to Texas now.
Yeah.
And like, well, now you're taking the money that was in the economy from California outside of California.
Outside of California.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Hmm.
And we can't stop from that, but that's that part where it's like, oh, so you hate California now. I'm joking around, but not really. You hate California now, but you made all your money in California.
Yeah, you made your fortune, your livelihood, everything.
Yeah, So but that's the equivalent of people in the military going back to the Philippines. Like, okay, hey, you know what? Took home, send it back there. Hey, I made all my money in California. I'm sending it back to Texas.
That is true. There's something strange about that. See, what if they told immigrants that in their country? Like, hey man, yeah, inflation here. Y'all need to get out and They're like, man, fuck this. I'm going to America. Like, let's go. It couldn't be that simple. I was like, damn, is that possible? Because the way that people just upped and left California, they're like, not everybody in that country left, but there's a lot of them did. Is there
Yeah.
something weird that happened? Like, get the fuck out, or what happened exactly?
Well, I think it's kind of like, I guess it could be very similar to California. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people that looked at it and was like, I think this other place gives me a better opportunity.
Yep. See, and how much of that was driven just through algorithms? Because you could clearly make an argument that there's a whole bunch of media that was just targeted about people leaving California,
Mhm.
going to Texas, or being Texas being a great state to come to, or Florida or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of, it felt like, at least in algorithms, that there was a lot of that propaganda making its way through. And it wasn't forced. People went voluntarily, and it felt like they reported as a lot of people, and by the number they tell you it would be a lot, but in the visual sense, and if you do really do the numbers based on some statistics, you're like, that's a very small percentage of people.
It is, and that's the thing, right? Like the thing is, like statistics and telling numbers is all how you want to perceive it. If I said,
Mhm. All narrative based.
okay, so like I was kind of indirectly saying this about business to my piano teacher. There's like a lot of business I feel do false growth, right? How they do false growth is what they do is they'll fire about 8% of their staffing population, right? Which will now make a 8% theoretical growth in revenue. Right now, you made 8%. You make the other remaining people step up 10 to 15% of the production. Right
Mhm.
now, you have 8%. You guys grew 4%. Theoretically, you can make it look like you grew 12%. You know what I'm saying?
Boom.
Because you're not spending that 8% on staffing.
Yep. Automatic.
So it's like, but it all depends on how you want to roll the numbers because you can sit there and say, um, okay, for instance, this really sounds bad. 1.4 million Americans have HIV or AIDS. You're like, fuck, right? Like, that's a lot of fucking people.
Like, man, we gotta fucking get on it, man. We need to help these people ASAP.
Right? You're like, fuck, what the fuck? All right. There's 34, there's 340 million people in America. What does that mean? That means the people that are infected by HIV and AIDS, right? I'm not saying that we want to go crazy. That means that people infected by HIV and AIDS are less than 1% of the population.
Interesting.
But it's still a lot. You know what I'm saying?
It is a lot of people by the number.
By
Yes.
the numbers, it's a lot.
In relative,
By
yeah.
by the right? Or
Ugh.
you used to say this a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah.
And even though I still get angry about it, black man got shot by a cop today. You're like, fuck, the fuck out of here, bitch. Motherfucker cop, dirty ass cops. You look at it like, oh, that represents like 100 killings throughout the whole year.
Like, damn, fuck, that's 100 people. That's
At
too
yeah,
much.
that's too much. That's
That's
too
a
much.
hundred too
Out of
much.
out of
One life.
340 million people.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not sitting there saying it's
Not trying
okay.
to discarded it. Just it's a
Sorry, and I'm not
purely a
even
numbers thing.
unarmed. Let's just say unarmed, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's too much. It's just like,
yeah.
okay, I'm not a person I'm not a person that's trying to persuade someone to think one way or not. I'm just saying like numbers are used based off who is narrating it to showcase
Yes. Yes. Narrative control.
right?
Narrative control is everything. Yes. Narrative control is the name of the game. That's what we realized.
Mhm. So that's all. It's just like,
You could have anything corroborate your argument with statistics now. And that's kind of like what we were talking about in the beginning, is like information and kind of how it's presented is slowly have been manufactured in the way that they're learning it about us. In response, there's ways to present, information now that can be on a level where, to the average viewer, you have to do a
mhm.
lot of diligent research if you're really wanting to know about something in particular.
Yeah, like we're you're talking about the Great Migration from California. So I try to Google it. It's like, are people moving back to California? One
Mm,
CBS News report. Let's see, November 21, 2023. If this is statistical correct, right? I don't know.
yeah, of
Like you said, we have to figure that some of this stuff may be incorrect.
course.
Now it seems like it's not there. Oh, it says the California exodus is a story that's been ongoing for several years. While it's slowing down, it's still happening. New data from the census show that California has lost 102,000 residents from Texas from 2021 to 2022. However, the numbers also show that California has gained more residents from Texas than any other state, around 42,000. So what's going on is there's people actually still moving, there's 100 moving away, 42,000 moving back. You know, so we're still
Yeah,
gaining people in a weird way.
yeah,
But
it's strange.
like all you hear is like, you look how many people are leaving. It was like, okay.
I
And
don't
you
think
look at
people are
it, it's
leaving.
like, huh?
People are not leaving.
There's people coming. Like I've literally heard statements of people like, I'm moving back. I can't like.
Oh
Here's
yeah.
here's my thought. Like unless you've been there very long time, and really got established. There's a lot of people I've known that moved out of state that are Californians and still moved back. Why? Because they're still a Californian. Not they don't let go.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Their mindset is still California.
It's a virus. It's a sickness you can't get rid of.
Well, it is right, and I'm joking around, but I'm joking. Said it won't be too far off until Texas becomes California
Oh yeah, for
because
sure.
so many
Sooner
people
than later.
are moving there, right? But what's going on is there's still certain things that people are maybe tired here in California, but then when they go to Texas, they're like, I'm not for that, you
Yeah.
know.
It's about to turn into that. I mean, the last election, it was really close to turning into a democratic situation. So I was like, damn,
Especially if
it's
it's
great.
tech companies. Like I hate to say, this, most tech companies, like most tech people, are more forward thinking, right? And I'm not saying that in a good or bad thing. I guess you have to because you're creating new technology, so you're thinking differently,
Sure.
right? You're
Sure,
thinking
sure, sure.
new outcomes and different ways to look at stuff.
Yeah.
So they look at things differently, and they probably look at political things differently, and they probably look at certain things differently. So it seems to be that most of the tech company people, at least the ones born in America, tend to be more liberal, you know?
Very true. Especially this technology age.
Mm-hmm. So
Politically, that sounds like we're the technocratic city. Yeah, there's a it's the lines are going to be very interesting going forward. Elon Musk, you know what I'm saying? Bezos, The
yeah, but
Rock. These personalities could be presidents at some point.
yeah, I know, right? And there's a weird part where like, well, I mean, we've had Schwarzenegger as our governor, so
That was a long time ago.
right. I mean, Donald Trump made it. Like, like
Yeah, Trump
regardless of
made it.
but he was never like a political person to put in there, and then he said, "I'm going to try," it. And then we did it
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
what
exactly.
So I mean, not even say Donald Trump. Let's go even further back. There's this guy called Reaganomics.
Reagan.
I didn't know he was an actor before that.
Yep, exactly. This has happened before. So it's like trying to figure out what's actually happening and for what purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, having an actor in there, I don't think there's a problem with that. It makes sense. It's a popularity contest. Popular people actually running now.
Yeah, it's always been that way, right?
Yeah, it's just strange because now the popular people are actually running, which I'm like, is that something that was never attainable, or is this now become like a good boost in business, however you see it? You know what I'm saying? Because you get exposure. You're not illegal to do anything after it. You can do whatever you like, right? You're not privy. You can't, like, you can do anything. Open up a restaurant, live in the forest, Secret Service forever. You're protected to in perpetuity. That's what I'm to understand. So I'm like, huh, maybe, yeah, if you could reach that level of popularity, maybe it's the perks that just come with it that are just very
I
easy.
mean, you get popular enough, you can fight Mike Tyson.
It's hey, come on, man. That's what I'm thinking. Everybody's looking at that position like it's a position of the illusion of a leader. You know, like every president since in our time has either went in there as a millionaire or went in there as millionaire turned billionaire after the fact. All of
Yeah,
them.
a lot of them. Well, in a way, you have to have some type of money because when you really look at it, like as a president, not really. You okay? To you and I are getting paid a lot.
Mm.
But when you look at the grant, like how many people you're in charge of, how much tax dollars you're in charge of, how many people
Mm,
you're in charge of,
yeah.
like as a president, you're technically in charge of 340 million people in the direction of
Yeah.
right? And
Uh-huh.
you're in the force of it. $500,000 a year isn't enough.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True. Very true. But then also, it's like, at what point do we start touching, like, man, is this like an oligarchy? Is this like a royal family? Because then what's the amount
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, this is like really separate, because I'm down with like that being a normal salary. But the idea, I think, of what it is needs to like either change, um, or just the narrative got to change about it. Because it's usually not that's not the main. I mean, it's the main person, like it's the manager at McDonald's, but he ain't like the
Yeah.
fry manager. He ain't accounting. He ain't corporate. He ain't the marketing dude. He's just the manager you actually get presented with when you got a fucking problem with your fish fillet. You like, motherfucker, I need to talk to a manager. All right, president manager here. What's up?
Hey, how you
And
doing?
you know what I'm saying, motherfucker? Okay, cool. I want to talk to who's your manager. Yeah, I'm here for you. And I could help you with anything. Like, no, I want to. Who paying your paycheck? Sir, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to just help you get to where you need to get to. See, so it's like, okay, that's who the president is. I think it just needs to be explained in a manner where people are better informed. And it's not like, hey, the information's out there, do it yourself.
Mhm.
All these shows and anything that is a media thing, I'm not saying should, you can do whatever fuck you want, make whatever you want, but it's just the narrative should spin more like that, where it's a little more uh telling and descriptive. Since every show and every movie is already taking the moniker of based on true events, I'm like, based on a real job. Like, hey, tell it how it is.
Based on a real job.
Yeah, instead of like, like,
What
oh,
about the fight,
loosely
kid?
based like on true events. Like, motherfucker, just say how it is. Don't give it this dramatization.
Because people don't really want to know how it is sometimes.
They don't. Like,
Yeah.
truly, that goes for all industries. You know that. Your
Yeah.
industry probably, you're like espionage to some degree. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just because it's tied up in IT. That's a world
I
foreign
don't know
to a
what you're
lot of
talking.
people.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Exactly. This fool about to disappear. Like, I take the skin off.
Delete everything, control alt delete, erase all information.
Oh man. For real, bro.
No, yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, like I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I can get on a whole other path of like what is being sold and what the actual action behind things are, right? Like
Mhm.
even YouTubers, like a lot of them are, especially now because it's become more popular. A lot of them are hustling hella hard to even get to where they make some type of revenue or money off of it, right? It starts off really small and then it compounds over time. What I'm also thinking that a lot of them make though their money is also things that are gifted to them that they sell on the side. I think that's where they probably make a lot of their money. Because they're like, okay, thanks. Oh yeah, yeah, they give to me this, but I'm a YouTuber, I'm supposed to be in it. And then they get done, it's like, all right, I'm gonna sell this Louis bag because I need $3,000 or whatever.
I could see that.
I'm doing a review on it. They gave me this to do a review, blah blah, because I have these many followers, and then they make a dummy account that they sell these things so people don't notice them.
There's a
You
lot of
know,
that going on too. I think there's a lot of ways you can multiply yourself in this new subconscious digital reality. I think when you're
yeah, like say
discovering
say
that,
we,
yeah.
we we actually grow this right,
Mm,
so we may get like $1 uh, every show or every couple months. Say we get like $50 a month for the
mm,
rest of the streams, right? But then when we're like, okay, we have now 2,000 followers, right? You have 10% of that, about 200 of them that actually buy purchase things from us,
mm-hmm,
and that's money right there,
mm-hmm.
right?
Direct.
Say we have 10% of that, which is 20 people that put in $100 a month to
Mm-hmm.
Patreon or something like that.
Subscription. Yep. Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
so it's just like the
You can
power,
see it.
right? That's why, like, I forgot where I was telling my piano instructor, and it might be late to the game, but when I started to understand producers that do sample packs was
Mm,
was an amazing thing because you what you do is you make the sample, you make music, you say, hey, all right, you buy my sample pack, that's $50, right?
mm.
You can sell it to 1,000 people, you got $50,000 right out of your followers
Yeah.
or whatever. You have 10,000 followers and you have
Pyramid scheme. I like it. Yes.
right, then you have 1,000 people that buy it, that's $50,000, right? after all said and done. Out of that 1,000 people, you just need one person to make a hot track after that and sell it to a rapper.
Yep.
Because how you write the royalty rules, you can still get a percentage of that album,
Oof.
right? Now, as you're making loops and whatever, your name starts to grow. You may make some beats for producers, and then now more followers going to come in and find it new, right? Say you
Mm-hmm.
made a one sample pack a month, 12 of them,
So sold.
right? 1,000 people buying for 50,000 or $50 each, right? Yeah, $50,000 a year, $600,000, right?
Oof.
For that 1 year. All you need, like I said, is that one person to make you know,
Hot
a
beat.
track, and then now you got royalties from that.
The music game
When
is
you make royalties
fascinating.
of that, royalties from that, then you have new fans and new followers, and new people that may buy your old stuff. Like, ooh, this is hot. Let me try to make this.
Yeah, you're following. Yeah, it is strange. The music industry specifically is, me, I'm always fascinated by that world. Just the idea of music and its influence and impact and longevity and what is rap and what is, dude, that shit, that to me is real magic. Because we're the only ones that supposedly make music. You know what I'm saying? Like out of all the animals and shit, we're the only ones that be
I don't
making.
know. There's been times where I think you've heard certain birds that chirp and make music. You
Oh,
know?
they might be in harmony together for sure,
Yeah,
but they ain't over there at the production table. You know what I'm saying? Chopping
yeah.
them
They're not
samples.
that shit. I don't know. I don't know. These woodpeckers be making hot beats on the tree.
That's true, though.
That's
That's
that
true.
trap. Take it.
That's true. Or guitarists or accordions or people that play organs, piano, any of those. Those are like some, don't know what it is, but it feels like that form of communication is probably more where we need to lean to. You know what I'm saying? Song and history through dance and education through dance and singing. So, yeah, I think that is the easiest way to do it. Where the way we're doing it now, where you got to pay 60 G's to have somebody tell you something about something, where it's like, nah, man, learn about it through singing and dancing and making clothing and art. Boom. Native Americans. You are one. I am
No,
one.
that's true. No, that's true, actually. Dude, yeah, anyway, all right. We probably have to end it because it's getting kind of late. It's now 2 hours of this
All
podcast.
good. I love it, brother. Thank
By
you,
the time
man.
people listen to
Sky
it, like
high.
they passed out. Naksu cow,
This is
sky.
gonna be forever, bro. This is like a captain's log. This is when people chime in. They're like, "Yo, you want to
Carbon.
go time travel to 2024? Check this shit out." And then they'll see us too, like, "Yo, look at these dudes.
Yeah, these dudes, these fake Black IP members right
What are
here.
they talking?"
Yeah,
These retired Black IP members, bro.
yeah.
Sky high, brother. I love you. Thank you,
All
man.
right,
Appreciate
listen.
that, brother.